sinned, you've come short of the glory of God. There's no more beyond. I don't have time, so you're going to have to just take my word for it. But in the Exodus, Pharaoh did not want the children of Israel to go. We know that. But in reality, he did not want them to go beyond. Exodus chapter 5, Moses says, with the voice of God, let my people go. Pharaoh says, no, I don't want them to go. Exodus chapter 8, there's been plagues of water to blood and frogs and gnats and flies. And Moses says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, tell you what, I will let you offer all the sacrifices you want in the land of Egypt. Do whatever you want to do. Serve your God in the land of Egypt. He was not willing to let them go beyond. Exodus chapter 10. Now we've had the plagues of the death of livestock, boils and hail and locusts. And he offers, Pharaoh says, tell you what, I'll negotiate with you. How about just the men go beyond? And just the men go out into the wilderness and you can sacrifice. Leave your families behind. Because he doesn't want you to go beyond. Exodus chapter 10. Out of the plague of darkness, or after the plague of darkness, Pharaoh negotiates again to allow the people to go. He says, tell you what, I'll let all your families go. You just have to leave your possessions and livestock behind. This is the last thing that Pharaoh negotiates. The final plague comes, the death of the firstborn, and Israel as a whole leaves. But it's indicative of the way Satan approaches your life and my life. I'll let you get a good church service. I'll let you come to church and shout a little bit. I might even let you get a goosebump now and then. I might let you go to a youth camp or a youth congress or a ladies retreat, and I'll let you do it. But I just want you to realize that's as far as you're ever going to get. There's nothing beyond. Nothing beyond. It's Jairus' daughter. It's the fact that one of the things that Satan wants to do is he does not like it when your faith has the audacity to peer beyond the veil of what is possible. He doesn't want you to be in the midst of a dark situation and have the audacity by the faith of God to peer into the future and say, God, I don't know if you will, but you can move a mountain. I don't know if you will, but you can heal. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but you will put my home back together. You will bring my child back in. He doesn't like faith, and so he erects pillars of Hercules in your life that reminds you every day when you wake up, there's no more beyond. And so you wake up with that feeling of hopelessness and you run your hands down that pillar and you say, no more beyond. Jairus' daughter, it came to pass. Jesus returned. Jairus comes and says, I need you. I've got a daughter. She's about 12 years old. She's dying. Would you come? And Jesus says, absolutely. And he begins to walk. You know the story. He's sidetracked. He heals the woman with the issue of blood. But when he comes and as they get close to the house, somebody runs from Jairus' house and says, don't worry anymore. The daughter's dead. We're done. There's no more beyond. I believe he might could have healed. I just don't think he can raise the dead. No more beyond. Or Lazarus, when he was supposed to go see Lazarus, but for whatever reason, Jesus kind of kicks his feet around and he takes his time, and now 3 or 4 days have passed, and he finally decides to go see Lazarus, and Mary and Martha meet him and says, oh, if you'd have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. If you would have come, but now he's been in for 3 days. He stinks. There's no more beyond. It's amazing how it all begins to play out. Spain, that great western peninsula of Europe, jutting out between the two seas as no other country in that continent does. And there they had so prided themselves that the pillars of Hercules were in their kingdom, if you will, that it was inscribed on their coins, as I said. It was inscribed in their national motto, no more beyond, non plus ultra. They wanted to say, we're as far west as you're going to get. This is the end of the world. They prided themselves in just letting that be their faith. There was a man by the name of Christopher Columbus who in the course of time began to conceive in his mind that perhaps the non plus ultra wasn't really right. That maybe there was something just on the other side of that vast expanse of the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. He decided, what would I have to do to leave where I'm at and drift off into the unknown and see for myself, is this all there really is, or is there anything else? Years of discouragement, sufficient to crush the spirit of all but perhaps the most highest resolved person. He was told no, 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 no. Finally, they threw him a bone. Now, we celebrate the three ships, the Nina, the Pita, and the Santa Maria, but I would tell you that in that time, those three little ships were minuscule. They had done, the King of Spain did everything he could to just kind of throw him a bone, and he knew it was going to fail. There was no way those three ships were going to get across. He was permitted finally to sail westward. I understand, I know probably some of you've already bought into this. I realize Christopher Columbus wasn't the first one to find America. I know that. But would you just hang with me for a moment? Because in Christopher's mind, he had been told all his life, no more beyond. All of his life, he had been told, this is as far as you go. But can you imagine what happened when he landed there and he realized everything that he had been taught was wrong? Everything that had been pushed at him day by day by day. Every time he pulled a piece of money out of his pocket and it said non plus ultra and he looked at it, he had just proven them all wrong. Hey, there is something out there. On his return, those Spaniards became convinced that was true. And so they began to be compelled, humiliating as it was. And they had to remake all of their money. And they had to remake all of their seals. And they changed it from non plus ultra to plus ultra, more beyond. They begin to realize, hey, as soon as it's been discovered, they put it, no more, that's off, that's gone. Now it's plus ultra, it has happened. In fact, in Valladolid, Spain, there is a monument. You can put it up on the screen. I can only put part of the monument up there because the guy who built the monument forgot to put clothes on all the women on the bottom. And so I'm only showing you the top. I ain't real sure why they do that on monuments, but that's how that is. So that's why you only get the top. I don't know if you can read it, but inscribed around that bronze band is non plus ultra. But the creator of that took a lion, and that lion's claws are scratching out the non, and it's leaving there just plus ultra, because somebody needs to understand right now that regardless of how long the non plus ultra has been your motto, no matter how long you've been told there's no more hope, there's no more beyond, no matter how many times the enemy's looked you in the eye and said, why do you keep coming to church? Why don't you just give up and die? There's a lot of Job's wives hanging around saying it ain't ever going to get any better. Just curse them and die. There's no more out there, but I'm here today to tell you, and you ought to be able to finish my sermon now. The devil says no more beyond, but God begins to wipe out the no, and he begins to tell you there's always more beyond. Come on, I want you right now. I want you to engage with me for a moment, but I want you to get in your mind every pillar of Hercules that the enemy has erected in your life. Every time the enemy said, this is as far as you're going to go. Some of you, if I had to graph your life, it'd be worse than the roller coasters in the theme parks. You've had moments of great revival followed by moments of crushing, backsliding defeat. And the enemy's looked you in the eye and said, this is as far as you're ever going to get. If that's you, I've come to tear down the pillars of Hercules in your life. And I've come to tell you that that is not the destiny of your life going forward. You're not destined to rise and fall with the whims of time. But God says, I've got something for you beyond your imagination, beyond all that you could ask or even think. And I've come to say there is more in your spiritual life than just a Sunday morning high and then a Monday morning crash. But you can live for God on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. There's more beyond. I didn't take the time to read all of Jairus's, all of that, but so I skipped over some of that, obviously, or didn't go far enough. When they say, just turn around, Jesus. There's nothing more that can be done. The daughter's dead. Don't trouble the master. And I can imagine Jesus. It's that pillar of Hercules again. Fear not. Believe only. And she shall be made whole. And he walks into that lady, that little girl laying there, dead as a doorknob. And he says, she's not dead, just sleeping. Humanity says that's the end. Humanity says that's as far as it can go. Humanity says there's nothing more. But when Jesus steps in, he says, I can always take it a little bit further. And he takes her by the hand and he says, rise and walk. And that little Jairus' daughter begins to rise and walk. It's the story of Lazarus when they say, if you'd have just been here, he would have been okay, and my brother wouldn't have died. He's been laying here for 3 days, no more beyond. And Jesus says, well, hold on to that. Why don't you just roll the tomb away? Oh, no, we can't roll the tomb away. It's going to stink. We've already anointed him with spices. We've done everything. Let's just be done with it. Let's just kind of give up. It's already happened. He says, no, roll the stone away. And then he just lifts up his voice and he says, Lazarus, come forth. There's always more beyond. Jeremiah 18 and verse 1. I'll let our musicians come. Jeremiah 18 and 1. Says this. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, arise and go to the potter's house, and there I'll call you to hear my words. Jeremiah goes down to the potter's house and he's watching. Any of you ever been, I go to Branson. I don't know if they do it at Dollywood or anything. Any of you ever seen a potter at work? I love watching it. There's some incredible truths when it comes to pottery. But Jeremiah is sitting there and he's watching this potter create this vessel. And somehow in the middle of making it, the vessel of clay is marred. The Bible says it's marred in the hand of the potter. I don't know if the potter messed up or if there was a inclusion in the clay that wouldn't take the form of what was going on. And so the potter squishes it all back down, and he starts over, and he makes another vessel. The Bible says, as it seemed good to the potter to make it. And the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do to you as this potter? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so you are in my hand. There is only one way that you can be assured of no more beyond. And that is if you take your life out of the hands of the potter. If you take your life out of the hands of the potter and you dust it off and you say, I don't want to have anything to do with you, Lord, I cannot help you. I cannot do anything for you. Brother Jacob cannot do anything for you. This church cannot do anything for you. But as long as you're willing to put your life in the hands of the potter, he will look you in the eye until kingdom comes and say, there's always more beyond. Doesn't matter how many failures. It doesn't matter how many situations. It doesn't matter how many times you've found yourself marred. There's more beyond. Ezekiel came and the hand of the Lord carried him out. Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 1 put him in a valley which was full of dry bones. And he said to Ezekiel, hey, can these bones live? Human nature, logic, reasoning, medical science, physics, you name it, says no. No more beyond. These are desiccated, dried, brittle, broken, separated pieces of humanity. And there's nothing we can do. But I love Ezekiel. Ezekiel just knows how to give the right answer. He may not have faith, to be honest. I'm okay if your faith is weak, because there's this verse in the Bible that says, Lord, I believe, but help mine unbelief. So I don't really have a problem if somebody comes and says, Pastor, I believe, but I'm really struggling right now. The situation's dire. I don't know. I'm okay with that, as long as you're willing to own up to it. But Ezekiel, I'm sure in his mind, he said, no, there ain't a chance those bones can live. But he didn't answer that way. He said this, you know if they can live. I don't, but you do. Prophesy to these bones, saying to them, bones, hear the word of the Lord. I'll cause breath to enter you and live. I'll lay sinews upon you. I'll bring flesh upon you. I'll cover you with skin and put breath in you, and you shall live. So Ezekiel began to prophesy. And there was a shaking. And bones came together. Now that would have been cool. A little scary, but cool. And the bones come together. And from the broken pieces of humanity, skeletons are formed. But God says, I'm not done. There's always more beyond. And then all of a sudden, sinews begin to lay and tendons begin to lay on those bones. And that in and of itself would have been pretty amazing. And God says, I'm not done yet. And then flesh, skin, muscle begins to attach. And then after that, skin is put upon that. And that would have been amazing in and of itself. But he said, I'm not done. There's always more beyond. Because God is not interested in putting just part of your life back together. God is not interested in just taking one of the broken pieces and reattaching them and stepping back and saying it's good. He wants to make you a new creature in Christ Jesus. The skeleton, the tendons, the sinews, the nerves, the flesh, the muscles, the skin. But he says, I'm not done, because they're still not alive. And so he spoke to the winds. And the wind came and breathed life into them, and they lived. Can these bones come together? God, you know. Can flesh come? God, you know. Can breath come? God, you know. There's always more beyond. Before Roger Bannister laced up his running shoes, scientists and doctors, physiologists said there is absolutely no way the human body is capable of running a 4-minute mile. It's impossible. It's never been done in all of the eons of human history. It's impossible. Robert Bannister laced up his shoes, proved them all wrong. Somewhere else I have it. I don't have it written here, but I think it was less than 6 months later, somebody beat Roger Bannister's record. It's amazing once it's broken, how fast it's broken again and again and again. If somebody here today, if you just take one step and let God put bones back together. That might be the only thing right now that you can think about. I've got an addiction I can't beat. I've got a situation I can't beat. If you would just let God put one thing back together, you'd find that He doesn't stop there. And you'll find the next time it's faster. Some of you just need to find an altar here in a moment, and you need to just lift your hands for the first time in your life, and you need to watch what God does, because He's here to tell you there's always more beyond. We've let the devil tell us far too long, no more, no more. But the Lion of the tribe of Judah has come to tear down the no, and to say this: with God, all things are possible. I wonder, across this building from the top of the balcony to the bottom, I wonder if you could stand right now. I want you just, if you can, at the very least, close your eyes, but I'd invite you to lift your hands to heaven. I'd invite you to grab hold of those pillars of Hercules in your life that you've heard the no, It's never going to happen. It's never going to come to pass. There's never going to be hope. There's never going to be joy. There's never going to be peace. There's never going to be healing. There's never going to be deliverance. There's never going to be salvation. And all of those negative no's, I want you to grab hold of them. And I want you right now to begin to cry out to the one that can erase the no and leave you with the hope that he can do exceeding abundantly above all that you could ask or think. He's here today to tell you there's more beyond. I don't know what your custom is, but let me tell you what I think your custom ought to be if this is not. You ought to get out of your pew and you ought to find some place that's just a little out of your comfort zone. It could be the front, it could be the aisle, it could be the side, but I need somebody to begin to take a Christopher Columbus mentality that says, I have let the devil tell me no too long, and I'm here today to get on the ship, and I'm here today to start sailing into the unknown. But in faith, I look towards you, God, and I say, Lord, I'm going to take off. Show me the beyond. In Jesus' name, would you begin to lift your voice? Would you begin to lift your hands? And would you begin to worship him? Would you begin to let God show you he wants to do something in your life?